Welcome back to Gloved Up Garage. Again, it's cold out here in the garage. I've got my heater going. Hopefully it's not too loud in the background, but I really can't shut it off. It's just too cold out here. Today I'm going to get started on the cleanup on the floor of the 93 LX Project Faux-bra. I'm going to get all this debris, dirt, and all this nasty stuff cleaned up off the floor of this car and get ready to lay the carpet in here. I still need to pressure wash the carpet. Obviously still need to mount the e-brake and the shifter, but I want to get in here and get this cleaned up before I start that process. There's a lot of dirt, debris, grinding, shavings, stuff like that from where I repaired the floor on this, which you can see in the previous videos. So I want to get all that nastiness out of here before I start any forward progress. Once I get all that done, in this video, I'm going to get the shifter cleaned up, get it mounted, and also get the e-brake handle cleaned up and get that mounted as well. So I'm going to set this on a time lapse, break out the vacuum cleaner, and get rolling. The interior looks much better now after I've cleaned all that debris and nastiness and insulation, all that stuff up. We've got it all cleaned out. So now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to lay the carpet down and let it kind of form back to the floor just where it was sitting in storage. I'm going to go ahead and vacuum and blow out that carpet. Again, that's not the final clean. I need to pressure wash it and scrub the rust and stuff off. But at least with it laid in here, I'll be able to kind of vacuum it a little easier, get some of the loose stuff out of it, so to speak. And then I'll be able to see if there's anything else that I'm going to need to trim while I've got it in here. I know my holes for the seat belts on the trans tunnel are there, but I don't think the holes for the outside seat belt, which goes right there with that little inserts welded to the inner rocker panel, I don't think that's on there. So I need to measure and get that hole drilled. Just make sure that all my stuff lines up. Like I needed to take the amp out for the premium stereo. There's a little spot where that amp goes into the carpet that I know is not there also. I need to get that cut. And for that, I think that's all I need to do to get it laid in there and just kind of make sure that it fits. So I'm going to grab the carpet, throw this back on time lapse, throw it into the car, and then do a little bit more vacuuming and cleaning. It doesn't fit as well as factory carpet, but try finding black factory carpet these days in good shape for not a lot of money. I'm sure I could order a new carpet and probably come out a little better than this, but I think it'll be okay once it's folded up. I might have to throw a little bit of glue in some of the corners, but you can tell it's just dirty from storage. And I'm going to get in here and vacuum up all this loose stuff on here and get it ready to be scrubbed out and cleaned. It's just going to help the process a little bit. Other than the dirt and debris, I mean, it's got a few waves in it. And I think once I get all the wiring kind of pulled out from the trans tunnel for the amp and all the seats and all the stuff in here, and it gets out in the sun for a couple of days, it'll mold back to the floor. I think a lot of these little waves and stuff are going to come out. So for now, I'm going to get to cleaning again and get this thing ready to be pulled back out so that I can get the rest of the stuff done. But, you know, just wanted to clean it. My OCD won't let me just let it sit around here and be dirty. Oh, it turns out so much nicer after it's vacuumed. My OCD is very happy. It's not perfect. There's a little bit of dust flying around in the air from where I blew it out, but it looks so much better without that mouse nest over here in the corner. You know, it still needs to be scrubbed really good, hit with a pressure washer. Hopefully work out some of that rust and stuff that's kind of matted the carpet down right there. And if not, I'm pretty sure the seat's going to go over top of it. And I've even got the little plastic covers that go over the feet for the seat mount, and that'll cover that up for sure. So I'm not worried about that stuff, but I do want to try to get it out. It looks really, really good. I mean, for used carpet, I can't complain too much. And I'm sure he'll be happy with it also. So I'm going to go ahead and get the shifter ready to get cleaned up and get the e-brake handle ready to get cleaned up. And next thing I'll do is probably find all the hardware to mount the shifter and get it put in there. I got the shifter up here on the workbench so I can start to clean and restore this thing. This is pretty rough, but we can make it work. So normally there's a couple of screws on each side that hold this bezel onto the base of the shifter. The base is what gets mounted to the car. And if you're not familiar with AOD shifters, the V8 will have park, reverse, neutral, overdrive, drive, and then first. The 4-cylinder transmission was the only one that has second gear. So in order to select second gear in an overdrive transmission, an AOD specifically, on these Fox bodies, you would have to have this in first, shift to drive, let the transmission shift to second, then bring the shifter back to first, which would lock in second gear. And then if you wanted to go to third gear, you would move up to drive, and then eventually you could make it into overdrive. But one of the funny things about overdrive in these cars is they do not like to be shifted into overdrive under full throttle. And in fact, in the police cars, there was a sticker that was put up on the dash that said to pursuit only in drive and not overdrive. It would reduce the top speed a little bit. I mean, you could go into overdrive, but again, it burns up that overdrive band, and that's why a lot of automatic AODs went through transmissions. So what I need to do, I need to get this bezel off where I can clean each one of these individual sliders in here, because believe it or not, that comes apart. I want to clean all that out. I want to make sure that the bezel, there's a little bulb that goes in here that lights this display up. And then this thing will be so much easier to clean if it's not just kind of loosely spinning around on the base of this. So what I need to do, you can squeeze in on the handle on the shifter itself, and then you just pull up really, really hard from the stem here, and this handle will come off. So I'm going to set the camera down, get this off, because I will need both hands to do this, and then I'll come back once I have this off. I went ahead and grabbed a 4-cylinder shifter out of my stash because I needed the screws to hold down this bezel while I got the handle off of the other shifter, but this is the difference. It's got that second gear selection in there. I've gone ahead and got the handle off of this 4-cylinder. This is the one that came off of the V8, and I went ahead and grabbed the 4-cylinder because a few of these little tabs that hold the handle onto the stem are broken, and this 4-cylinder only has one that's broken, and it was missing the spring, so I went ahead and took the spring from the V8 handle. We'll use the plunger on whichever one of these is in better shape. I'll clean that up. And then those are a couple of screws I was using from this to hold down the bezel on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off, and then I'm going to clean and lubricate this housing down in here. Just put a little bit of like white lithium grease or silicone grease after I clean all this out. I don't plan to take any of this apart. It looks like it's in good shape. I don't think there's anything that looks like it's missing. So right here is where the, I guess you would call it like an interlock goes into place so that you cannot turn the key off if the car is not in park. So that is where this mounts in there. There's a screw that goes here, a little loop on a cable, and then there's just a pin and a washer that goes on the end of this. I don't think we're going to need that on this car, but I'll see if it's in all of the parts that we've got over there. Really not, I don't think I can actually even do it because this car was originally a 5-speed, so the column's going to be different. I bet it doesn't even have the provision for that, so I'm not even going to worry about that part. I am going to go ahead, like I said, get this cleaned up, And then I'll start disassembling this to get it cleaned up. I'll test the light bulb that's in here, and then we'll come back. So this bezel comes apart really easy. If you're careful, you can get these little clips worked off of the studs that hold this to the base of the bezel. Something important to note. See the orange there and how it's all faded out? Yeah, we're going to make that orange again. And we're going to clean up all of these little sliders, and they're in a specific stack. So I'll carefully take this off, lay it out. I'm going to clean each one of those individually. I'm going to paint that orange again, clean the base of this really good, and then work on cleaning this also. Luckily, the letters are not faded out, and that is pretty clean. I mean, there's a few little scratches or something right there. But for the most part, this will clean up with just a really, really good scrubbing. It doesn't need to be dyed or painted or anything. And then the bulb should have that green cover on it. I might see if I've got a green LED to put in here and test it with a green LED just to see if it looks any better with the LED versus the incandescent bulb and the cover that goes over top of it. Essentially, there's a 194 or 168 bulb under this cover. This whole thing comes apart, and then it just snaps in using compression into that groove right there. So I'll get that tested, and I'll come back once I've got this in a little better state. All right, I got the bezel all cleaned up, top and bottom. I went ahead and hooked up the light in here to test it. It looks really good. I'm not going to change it to LED. I mean, it's not supposed to be super bright, and in fact, I've learned from experience, if you get stuff on the console that's too bright and it flashes up at your face while you're trying to drive, it becomes really annoying. So I'm just going to leave that in there. I'm going to clean that bezel up, the bulb and the part that attaches to the bottom of the bezel, the base. I'll get that cleaned up. I've got all the sliders cleaned up, and I'm not really happy with the way they look after I've cleaned them. You can see a lot of wear on these things. So I'm going to try to touch it with a little bit of, I don't know, maybe a little bit of like Armor All or something like that will help to clean this up a little bit, make it look a little shiny. I mean, it is what it is. Unfortunately, they just very thin textured strips of plastic. They wear very easily, and then every time you drive the car, you're going to be moving this back and forth. So maybe a little Armor All will make that look a little better. I'm going to touch it and see what happens. I had to turn the heat back on. It was just too cold out here. So I've got the light hooked up, and I got my shifter all put back together, or I should say his shifter put back together, completely cleaned up. I did my best to restore this stuff. It's just not going to change colors because of the wear that's in it. It's really thin plastic. Handle looks really good. I mean, overall, it looks really, really good. I got in there and sprayed a little bit of white lithium grease on the mechanism. Not the one that actually locks it into gear, but there's like a little pin that rides up and down inside of the shaft. So that's got some lubrication on it now. And overall, this thing looks amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and find my hardware to get this in the car. After a couple of trips back and forth to my bolt spins and his bolt spins and trying to find the right hardware, the shifter is in there. I'm going to trim that carpet a little bit just to get it away from the shifter itself. And then the e-brake is now mounted. And I had to go look at one of my parts cars where that switch mounts to the side of the e-brake because, well, it's been a minute since I worked on a Foxbody. And I couldn't remember how it went on there. That little switch gets mounted onto the side, and then the wire gets routed around, and I just may have put it on a little different the first time, but it may or may not have worked. But it looks like it's in good shape now. Again, the carpet's going to come back out for a pressure wash, so you know, I might have to wind up pulling the e-brake back out of it to get it clear of the carpet. So this is about where I wanted to be today. I've got my e-brake in, I've got the shifter in. On the bottom side of the car, I still need to button everything up, so I might need to loosen the shifter to make some room for that, but it is what it is. For now, I'm happy. I just wanted to show it from this side since it turned out really good. You know, again, the carpet needs to sit. It is what it is. It'll level out a lot more the more that it's in the car and it gets back into form. Some warm days would really help, but it's January 1st today. We're not going to get any warm days for a while. So it is what it is. I wanted to thank you all for watching. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for those that have subscribed. For those that plan to subscribe, remember to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when I upload new videos. I'm trying to get onto a schedule this year where I upload a new video every couple of weeks, and then eventually I want to get to the point where I'm uploading every week. These videos may not be much, but it's going to help grow the channel by uploading continuously and getting on that schedule. And I think that's where I've been suffering the most. It's not the quality of what I'm doing, it's that I'm not uploading enough to catch the algorithm. So that is what it is. That's kind of a side note. Again, thank you all for watching, and remember to stay gloved up.